Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the story break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was Transformers Rise of the Beasts, making $7.3 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $136 million and a worldwide total of $381 million. So this was one of the bigger surprises for me, at least this weekend. I was not expecting this movie to not only stay in the same position as it was last weekend, but to also beat out both The Flash and Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. That was completely unexpected, completely took me by surprise, but it goes to show how well this movie has done ever since its release. It's quickly picked up the pace and picked itself up back from the rut, because I think a lot of people, once they saw that second weekend drop off, they saw it, especially me, they thought, this movie's done, there's no coming back from this. But in actuality, the film's been able, like I said, pick itself back up for the pace, and because of that, with its strong holds and strong word of mouth, it was able to outgross, domestically at least, both Bumblebee and Transformers the last night. And hey, given where it's at and where it's going, it should hit $150 million domestically very soon, and $400 million worldwide, which, you know, is still a far cry from the heights of the Michael Bay Transformers movies. But the fact that this movie has been improving upon its weakest entries thus far shows that audiences are warming up to the Transformers franchise again. And hey, considering a lot of other movies that have come out this month, I think this is a best case scenario. Even if the movie didn't quite reach the heights of the Michael Bay Transformers movies or reach that doubling point just yet, it's definitely going to surpass that very soon, but just barely over that. It's definitely better than something like The Flash. I think they're very grateful and very happy that they're at least in this position compared to some other movies that have come out recently. So yeah, this movie has quite honestly become one of the bigger surprises at the moment right now. It is currently the second biggest movie of the month, which I was not expecting. And yeah, it completely exceeded my expectations from after that second weekend drop off, and continues to do modestly well for itself. Not a great hit, mind you. I'm sure they were hoping for a little bit more here, but again, considering everything else, this is definitely better than nothing. Number 4 was No Hard Feelings, making $7.8 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $29 million and a worldwide total of $49 million. So this movie actually held pretty well this weekend. It only dropped 47%, which is pretty solid for an original R-rated comedy. It shows that it's really resonating with audiences. People are still going out to see it, which is very cool. It's sure to surpass its initial $45 million budget domestically, and worldwide it has already done that. So all it needs to do now is double it. We'll see if it can get there. We're heading into July. There's a lot more bigger movies coming out, especially this weekend, as there is another R-rated comedy coming out. We'll see how this movie faces off against that this weekend. But if this movie continues to hold well like this through the coming weeks, stand out on its own, be solid counter programming, then I think it might have a shot of doubling this worldwide and being a small little sleeper hit domestically. So right now it does seem to be heading on the right path. We'll just hope it can maintain this direction. Hopefully things keep going well for this movie. As for right now, it's doing pretty good given all things considered. Number 3 was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, making $12 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $340 million and a worldwide total of $607 million. Spider-Verse continues to be one of the biggest hits of the summer and the year, and it has surpassed a couple milestones. First off, it is officially now the highest grossing film from Sony Pictures Animation, both domestically and worldwide. It outgrossed both Hotel Transylvania 3 and The Smurfs. Praise the Lord, thank God. I think everyone is pretty happy with that turnout. I don't think anyone is upset over that milestone. And on the domestic side of things, it is just $15 million away from surpassing the entire domestic run of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and given where it's at, I think it's safe to say that it will be able to do so by the end of this week for sure, which would make it not only the biggest movie of the summer, but also the second biggest movie of the year domestically behind the Super Mario Brothers movie, which would mean that as of now, there will be the two highest grossing films of the year will both be animated movies, which is incredible, a huge win for animation nonetheless, and will also be really interesting for the rest of the summer movie season. We'll see if anything can top this. Again, July is on the horizon. We got Mission Impossible, Barbie, Oppenheimer. We'll see if any of those movies can knock down Spider-Verse here. But yeah, overall, this has just been an outstanding run for this movie. Everyone has been going to see this. This is the movie to see right now. Not much more else to say, except it's a huge hit for a reason. Number 2 was Elemental, making $12.1 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $89 million and a worldwide total of $187 million. So the film was able to finally get the jump over Spider-Verse. It was interesting to see these numbers as they were very close this weekend, and the Sunday estimates revealed that Elemental was at number 3 and Spider-Verse was number 2, but not only did these numbers significantly improve this weekend, but in actuality, it was Elemental who got the jump over Spider-Verse, which is absolutely wonderful. It makes me very happy to see not only this movie continuing to hold well, but also get a jump over Spider-Verse. It finally got a leap over it, which makes me very happy. And given where it's at, it should have no doubt becoming the third animated film this year to surpass $100 million domestically, and it should have no problem surpassing $200 million worldwide, as it still has yet to release in a couple countries. In fact, I believe it releases in the UK this Friday, so that should definitely boost up the international totals, and it continues to be quite the big surprise of the summer right now. And given the lack of competition, like I said earlier, Ruby Gillman didn't do so well, and this will probably be the only animated movie that makes the big bucks right now. It's probably going to continue having a strong strong holds throughout the rest of the summer until Ninja Turtles, the next animated feature film, comes out in theaters. So that's all good. That's all said and done. But again, the film's biggest enemy is that budget. I just don't know what they were thinking with this. Had this been significantly cheaper, the story would have been even bigger. This would have been such a much bigger success story, maybe even on the same level as Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. But unfortunately, because of that budget, it's still struggling to get where it needs to go. But yeah, otherwise, I don't think this is another Lightyear scenario. This is far from that. Audiences are responding to this movie well. It should continue to being one of the more bigger surprises of the summer. And I think, once again, given where it's going, I think it should have no problem surpassing Lightyear domestically and worldwide. So at least it has that going for it. So yeah, again, while not a hit because of that stupidly big budget, as far as everything's going, as far as things are concerned, I think this is still a pretty impressive box office run overall, and I look forward to seeing how much further this movie can go. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, which was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, opening with $60 million this weekend domestically and $130 million worldwide. So this is the 6th biggest opening weekend of the summer. It topped The Flash, Elemental, and No Hard Feelings, but it still sits behind Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, Fast X, The Little Mermaid, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and it is the second biggest opening weekend for any Indiana Jones movie. It topped The Last Crusade, Temple of Doom, and Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it sits behind Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which opened to $100 million back in 2008. So unfortunately, this is yet another disappointing opening. I had a feeling that a lot of people, when the first trailer came out, thought, well, this is going to be the Top Gun Maverick of next summer. It's got everything working for it. It's a legacy sequel. It's Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford. Everyone's going to see this movie. Hell, even I'm part of that camp as well. I predicted this to be the second highest grossing film of the summer, and I'm probably going to be dead wrong on that, as this is not a very good opening. Sure, it's bigger than The Flash, but it's also not as big as Transformers, and it's not even as big as Crystal Skull, which came out over 10 years ago. There was just, unfortunately, not a lot of interest in this movie as we got closer and closer to the release date. Sure, there was a lot of marketing for it, but outside of like diehard Indiana Jones fans, I didn't see a lot of people really hyped up or interested in the movie all that much. It didn't really feel like it got a lot of people interested in seeing this. Unfortunately, it could be because of how audiences responded to Crystal Skull or early reviews, but whatever the reason, once again, there was just a lack of interest with this movie, unfortunately. And unfortunately, I don't think this movie's going to have really strong legs. Yeah, it isn't that big of a weekend this weekend, but considering the B+ Cinema Score rating, which is bigger than the B Cinema Score rating that Crystal Skull got, it's still not very good an indicator of where this movie's gonna go. As we've been shown time and time again this summer, if you're a big blockbuster and you don't get at least an A, you're screwed pretty much. And while I don't think this movie will have as disastrous holds or legs like The Flash, I do think this movie is still in trouble, as this is yet another ridiculously expensive movie. Can't find an official budget, but there are some rumors and reports saying that this could be close to or even more than $300 million for the budget, which is crazy. And unfortunately, a $60 million opening isn't going to cut it, let alone 130. So yeah, overall, this is a very disappointing opening weekend for this movie. It looks like this is definitely not where Disney wanted this movie to go, and unfortunately, I don't think this movie's gonna lead to anywhere special, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, we end June, and we end Indiana Jones's filmography on a dud, sadly. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend we have 2 new major wide releases, the first being Joyride. This is a new R-rated raunchy comedy from the writer of Crazy Rich Asians, and honestly, I think this movie might do okay. The buzz has been pretty good, and it's received strong reviews and reactions from when it premiered at South by Southwest and CinemaCon earlier this year. I think the studio did a good job of building buzz and hype for it because of those early premieres and reactions. The downside, though, is the marketing hasn't been the best. I've seen some promotion for it here and there. I've gotten the trailer a couple times, but compared to something like No Hard Feelings, it's severely lacking. So while I don't think it's going to do terrible, I think there's enough interest in it. I definitely don't think it costs as much as something like No Hard Feelings. So if it even hits like the lower teens, I think it would still be a good opening, but I do think it will come a bit under No Hard Feelings. Not a great opening, but certainly not a terrible one. And then the other big wide release is Insidious: The Red Door. This is the latest and presumably last film in the ongoing Insidious horror franchise, and given how strong of a year it's been for horror, I think this movie's gonna have a pretty solid opening for itself. This is a pretty big franchise. These movies have done very well for themselves. Even the 2018 one that I don't think anyone remembers did okay and pretty solid for itself given the time it came out. The marketing has been solid. I've been seeing a lot of promotion for it. The buzz is strong here as well. It's the only horror movie out right now, as the last film, The Boogeyman, while doing fine, it has definitely dwindled. So I think this movie will benefit from that as being the big horror movie of the summer right now. And yeah, I have pretty solid expectations for this, but we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.